Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Saudi Arabia may have just announced the card of the year, on paper at least. Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol, official for June 1st in Saudi Arabia. Undisputed light heavyweight titles on the line. Need I say more about that fight? One of the most prominent fights in boxing, in my opinion. It has pound for pound implications. First undisputed light heavyweight champion in a long while. Two contrasting styles, two elite guys. A fight that's been in the making for quite some time. You guys know I'm a big fan of Beterbiev. I love his style. One of my favourite fighters in boxing. But of course I recognise Bivol is supremely talented. Nevertheless, I do favour Beterbiev, but we will make a prediction video nearer the time. But it's a great fight. The undercard, which is billed as Matchroom versus Queensbury, 5 versus 5. Some really good fights announced. First and foremost, the lesser fight on the undercard is Craig Richards versus Willie Hutchinson at light heavyweight. That is basically a show opener. It's a domestic level fight, but it's an okay fight. I do favour Craig Richards in quite a big way. One thing about Craig Richards is we know he's a good domestic level light heavyweight in the UK. When he stepped above domestic level, he has lost against Buatsi, who is fringe world level, and obviously Bivol, who is world level. But in those fights, yeah, he lost clearly, but he looked after himself, you know. He's a pretty solid pro. Willie Hutchinson, on the other hand, turned pro with a lot of hype, got to British level at super middleweight, I believe against Lennox Allen, and got knocked out. He's rebounded since then with a couple of wins over nondescript opposition. I make Craig Richards a big favourite here, to be honest, but it could be competitive for a few rounds. But I expect Richards to win that one. Also, we have a featherweight world title fight. Raymond Ford is defending his WBA featherweight title against Nick Ball. Ray Ford won that title in his last fight against Otabek Kolmatov, in a great fight, by the way. Ray Ford was losing that fight but showed heart, didn't lose faith, and secured a 12th round stoppage. Really good fight, really good win. He looks to build on that against Nick Ball. Nick Ball coming off a draw to Ray Vargas for the WBC title at featherweight. Many people felt he was unfortunate not to get that win. I personally felt a draw was a fair result. But ultimately, you know, I'm in the minority when I say that. Most people felt Nick Ball won that fight. Certainly performed better than I expected, to be honest. He's a strong guy, come forward guy, decent power, decent relentlessness, work rate, etc. But he is quite basic. Raymond Ford is a better boxer. He offers better movement. He's got better hand speed. And ultimately, I see Raymond Ford, especially seeing that Kolmatov fight, as a fighter with more versatility, more strings to his bow, so to speak. Against Kolmatov, he was trying to box, but he was being outworked by Kolmatov. He realised he was losing that fight and started to pick it up towards the end, got more aggressive, started putting his shots together, showed good adjustments in a hard fight. Raymond Ford traditionally is a boxer, and I think that will give Nick Ball trouble, that style. But if things go south, he's shown he can mix it up. So overall, I believe Ray Ford is a better boxer overall than Nick Ball, and I think he'll win that fight on points. We move on. Excellent middleweight fight between Hamza Shiras and Austin Ammo Williams. Hamza Shiras in the UK, one of the standout up-and-comers, you would say. Looked really good in his last couple fights, knocked out Liam Williams in a round. Had a bad fight against Bradley Skeet a while back, but since then he's looked pretty good. He's got good power, he's a massive middleweight, really tall, really lanky. Seems to be coming into his own. Austin Williams is in a similar position in his career, on the come up, has looked good in certain fights in his rise. A few other fights, he has kind of looked a bit lackadaisical, has blown a little hot and cold, I would say. But Austin Williams is an aggressive southpaw. He's actually stylistically similar to Errol Spence in a way. Good body puncher, good right hook to the body, puts his shots together quite well. He's got respectable power, good amateur pedigree, and like I was saying, he's in a similar position in his career to Hamza Shiras. In fact, Hamza Shiras is 19-0, Amo Williams is 16-0. And overall, you look at the competition both guys have fought, I mean, they're not a million miles away from one another, to be honest. Both guys, we've been waiting to step up. Here we have it. I find this one a hard fight to call. I can't call it right now. To be honest, I think I need to go back and, watch previous fights of each guy to refresh my memory and go from there. But it's a really, really good fight. Really good fight. We now move up to the heavyweights. Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgovic. Excellent fight. Dubois 20-2, Hrgovic 17-0. Both guys carry power. Both guys have shown vulnerabilities in their careers. With Dubois, there's the criticism that he doesn't have a heart when the going gets tough. We saw that in the Joe Joyce fight. We saw that in the Usyk fight. In his last fight, though, against Jarrell Miller, arguably a career best performance, some would say. So he's on the comeback trail, looking to get back to the top of the heavyweight division. And he's got a great opportunity against Filip Hrgovic. Hrgovic is highly ranked. I think he's the IBF #1 contender. He's beaten in his previous few fights Dempsey McKean, the unbeaten Australian. He beat Zhang, though many people felt Zhang won that fight, including myself. But, Hrgovic has a great amateur pedigree. He's got a very good chin. He's awkward. He's got that lean back sort of style. Kind of hard to hit clean. He's just kind of an awkward, unorthodox guy. He's like a poor man's Vitaly Klitschko in regards to his stance, how he holds his feet, etc. Nowhere near as good as Vitaly, obviously, but he's like a poor man's Vitaly Klitschko. I find this fight really hard to call. As much as I'm aware of Dubois' shortcomings, defensive shortcomings, possibly chin issues, heart issues maybe, I get all that, but I'm not sold on Hrgovic at all, to be honest with you. I'm not sold on him either. I'd still maybe lean towards Hrgovic, but again, it's another one of those fights as to where I need to refresh myself and go back and watch their fights to see who comes out on top stylistically, or at least have an opinion on it. I could see this fight going either way. I've got a feeling Hrgovic is going to be the favourite, but I have to be honest, I'm not that confident in him going into this fight, though nor am I confident in Daniel Dubois, quite frankly. But for me, it's an excellent fight. And also one more thing, by the time this fight happens, Usyk Fury would have already transpired, and possibly the IBF title may be vacated after that fight. There's been a few rumours about that for a while. So there's the slight off chance that this fight could have a vacant IBF title on the line. Who knows whether that happens? I'm speculating, but possible, you never know. And lastly, also at heavyweight, Deontay Wilder, the former WBC heavyweight champion, versus Zhang. Big punchers, big guys, big lumps, must win for both guys. Loser of this fight is done. Zhang, 40 years old, lost to Joseph Parker in his last fight. Another loss here. You struggle to see him coming back. Same is said for Deontay Wilder, 38, coming off a one-sided loss to Joseph Parker. Got knocked out by Fury a couple of times a few years ago. He's struggled to rebuild since then. And again, a loss now to a 40-year-old Zhang. At 38 years old, you struggle to see Wilder coming back from that. This fight, in regards to the 5v5, has the most on the line. Because for me, this is basically a loser leaves town fight. It's a loser leaves town fight. The fight itself, neither guy looked good in their last fights. Zhang dropped Parker a couple times, Aside from that, for my money, didn't really do much. Super low output, looked unfit, didn't look interested, and he was outboxed by Parker. Wilder, on the other hand, same thing. Didn't look up for it against Parker, outboxed every round, reluctant to let his hands go. Again, looked like a guy on the way out. Put these two guys together. Zhang is the favourite, I would say. And gun to my head, I would pick Zhang. But I'd still give Wilder a chance in this fight. I think this could be a very low output affair until somebody pulls the trigger. It may be a blink and you'll miss it fight. Maybe nothing happens until it does happen. And both guys have the power to really hurt each other. One thing I will say, I do think Zhang has a better chin than Wilder. So maybe if Wilder does land something big, he can at least take a few. Whereas I don't have that same faith in Wilder's chin, to be honest. I really don't. And maybe that's what makes me edge Zhili Zhang in this fight. But regardless, it's a great fight, and I think this is a great card. It really is. The main event in and of itself, Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol. That's all I need. But with this undercard, this is the best Saudi card to date for my money. Excellent card. Can't wait for it. Really can't wait for it. And yeah, there's some really interesting fights there. Many people see Bivol Beterbiev as a pick'em. I personally favour Beterbiev quite strongly, but the general public see it as a 50-50. Wilder Zhang, a lot of people are going to see it as 50-50. Shiras versus Williams, 50-50. Dubois versus Hrgovic, very competitive. You know, even Nick Ball, I think he'll lose resoundingly, but I think he'll give Raymond Ford a decent fight. There's some really good fights on this card. Really good fights. And looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. I will make individual preview and prediction videos for these fights, time permitting. But yeah, awesome news. Anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy, peace.